In October 2012, oocyte cryovitrification, a technical term for egg freezing, was reclassified as no longer experimental. Now, since this happened, there's been a lot of buzz among bloggers, especially, about what this means for women who want to preserve their fertility, especially young women who might be thinking about their career path first, marriage and children later. Some are even saying we've let the reproductive genie out of the bottle, and we're envisioning generations of parentless children in their teens because their moms waited until they were in their 50s to become pregnant. I don't necessarily think that's the case. In fact, I very much doubt if that's going to happen, and here are some reasons why. If you look at this story on the surface, and if you look at a lot of the headlines, people are assuming that just because it's no longer experimental, that this is a slam dunk for women who want to, let's say, take out infertility insurance. It's really not. You have to look beneath the hype. You have to look at what the experts are saying. Now, this board, and I'm not a video person, so I have to look at notes, but there was a board that examined this, I think, 1,000 studies. They looked at 1,000 independent studies that were done on egg freezing, and this is what they based their results on. But 1,000 is a small number for a study. We have results in the millions, over 1 million for IVF. There's at least over 1 million successful births from IVF. Also, in this study of 1,000, you have to realize that this technology was developed... Right, sorry, dead battery. Egg freezing was developed initially for chemotherapy patients, people who were facing almost certain sterility as a result of cancer treatment. So among the 1,000 studies, we're not looking at a lot of 35 and up women. We're looking at, in fact, teenagers and people in their 20s. Not to say that's exclusively the age group, but it does dilute the results. So how successful egg freezing will be, maybe not quite as good as what we're seeing with these studies. In fact, Samantha Pfeiffer, she's a University of Pennsylvania specialist, she says it's not as predictable for women in their late 40s and early 50s. I'm not saying it isn't a good option, but it's probably still got a way to go. Another concern is cost. We're looking at a total cost, apparently, of about $40,000 by the time you actually have your baby. So it's $10,000 to retrieve the eggs. There's a freezing and storage fee, so it's $1,000 a year to store the eggs. It's then they have to be thawed. There's a high-tech fertilization process, and of course implantation of the embryo or embryos. So a grand total of $40,000. Now, is insurance going to cover it? No, I don't think so. Insurance companies, most of them won't cover IVF. And IVF is for people who have already been diagnosed as infertile, or at least having fertility issues. When you're talking about egg freezing or setting your eggs aside for the future, now we're looking at women who are doing this as an elective procedure. They have no medical problems. They just want to put their eggs aside just in case. They may never need to use them. I'm a dentist. I've been dealing with insurance companies for 30 years. They're not going to consider that a medical condition. They're not going to pay for it. Now, one place where they probably will cover egg freezing is, well, this is a little different. They won't cover egg freezing. Let's forget about insurance for a minute. One place where this really is a great option and great news is for people who are looking for an egg donor right now, or ready to get pregnant now because the woman doesn't have sufficient eggs or doesn't have good quality eggs, can't get pregnant with her own eggs. With frozen eggs, you no longer have to find a match, synchronize menstrual cycles, go through all the delays. Apparently it can be months before a woman who wants a donor egg can actually get to the point of implanting an embryo. So now here we're going to have actually egg banks, frozen eggs, where you can go and immediately select an egg and become pregnant, hopefully, and at about half the cost. It's about $10,000 for frozen eggs versus finding a live donor. So there is some good news here, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't do it. I think it's great. I'm myself I'm a late in life mom. I didn't plan it, but I had a baby at 46 and Had I known this was an option in my 20s and 30s when I couldn't find Mr. Right, I would have seriously considered it. But we have to look at the big picture. We have to look at all the information before we go talking about this being the answer to the woman's biological ticking clock. It's a help, but it's not everything. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.